Hey guys, Harry here from the Art Gear Guy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really apologise for the lack of presence and content and anything else all over Christmas and the New Year. I was really sick. I know a lot of you guys had this kind of like flu thing that was going around. I'm not too sure what it was. I had COVID last Christmas. I think that lasted about 2 weeks and it was bad. I was sick with it, but whatever this was this year, I was really floored with it. I had a chest infection. I had a lot of gunk build up on my chest. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like somebody was standing on my chest when I lay down. I had like flu-like symptoms, terrible headache. It was just terrible, and it lasted for about 7 weeks in total, with round about the middle of those 7 weeks being the absolute worst. And that was the funny thing about it, because it would come and go in a couple of days. It would be really bad, and then a day after that or something, I felt like, oh, maybe this is the end of it coming, and then the very next day, floored again. So it was really frustrating. But anyway, I apologise so much. I know I didn't put anything out on social media or anything like that. I just wasn't even up to watching YouTube videos. I would watch them occasionally and like or comment some people's videos, but I was absolutely wiped out. And so I really apologise. So, as you can tell by the title of this video, this is about lightfastness. Now, I know the title might be a little bit dramatic, but I've got a few things. I'm going to try and break this down into different categories. I'm going to try and explain the reasons why I wanted to make this video, and I'm going to try and explain all the different nuances surrounding the subject of lightfastness. So let me first of all explain the reason why I want to make this video. So when I first started the first 2 years of when I started doing mainly colour pencil reviews, I would get always asked the same questions, and it would fluctuate between one or two subjects as to which one was the most asked, and that would be whether the pencils were wax or oil based, or what are the Lightfast ratings of the pencils. And I did a video not that long ago explaining about wax based and oil based pencils. And the reason why I made that video was because there was just so many different things around this wax. So many people were putting so much emphasis on wanting just wax based pencils, and they thought that, a soft chord pencil meant that it automatically was wax, and a really super hard chord pencil meant that it was automatically oil. And so I just wanted to dispel a lot of the myths that were surrounding that particular subject. And so I had to contact chemists that work that are part of the bigger companies that make the colour pencil cores, put all the chemicals and what have you inside them to make them harder, softer, whatever it was, the variations. I'll have a link to that video if you want to know more about it. But the other subject was lightfastness, and the last couple of years I've received loads of different messages and emails and texts and what have you from people saying, that they feel really bad because they purchased a set of pencils but they weren't super lightfast, and they felt like they had wasted their money and that they couldn't use these particular products anymore and what have you. And I thought to myself, I need to do a better job of portraying my beliefs in this. And I feel and felt when I was reading a lot of these messages that I was culpable, especially for those first 2 years, where I was kind of like driving home the importance of, having a wax or an oil-based pencil and making sure that you had super light-fast pencils. I was culpable for that as well. And so I felt that I had an obligation to at least put forward what I have found out with regards to the blue wool and the ASTM systems, and obviously some of the other in-house systems where manufacturers come out with their own lightfast scales. And I know it might be a bit too late for some people, but better late than never. And like I say, I hold my hands up and I accept responsibility for this. But I think there's a lot of other YouTubers and content creators out there that have to take a little bit of responsibility as well. But let me first and foremost say, I am not saying in any way, shape or form that lightfastness is not important. I'm not saying that at all. It really is important, especially if you are an artist that wants to sell your original artwork. It is important, whether you're using watercolors or colored pencils or whatever. It is important, but there are not many artists out there, certainly on YouTube and stuff like that, that are selling their one and only original piece of artwork. There might be a lot of artists out there that are creating, prints, things like that, which is a different subject, and I'll get into that towards the end of this video. But there's not that many artists out there that are just creating one piece of art and selling it. I know commissions fall into that category, and I know there's a lot of artists, making their own commissions. And so for that particular genre of art, if that's what you're going to do, then yes, lightfastness is important. But even at that, for me, there's so much confusion around the lightfast scales. And I was always under the impression that these lightfast scales, the blue wool scale and the ASTM scale, are all scientifically monitored. It's a scientific process, and it has to be, because what you're essentially saying is that you have tested a pigment in conditions that the manufacturer can confidently turn around and say, yes, this pigment will withstand certain conditions and stay vibrant over 100 years. Now, we can't just sit that down and just do that, have somebody sit down and watch this pigment fade over 100 years. So it has to be done in a certain environment, and it has to be done with certain conditions replicated by machines, and hence the ASTM and the blue wool. These are establishments that are able to produce that. But there's far too much, in my opinion, there's far too much conflict between these two scales. And I was always led to believe that although in science opinions may change as new data comes in, things might change, but generally in science, it's black. It's pretty much black or white. They do tests, it comes up with a system, and that system is what is adhered to. But if you've got a blue wool system and an ASTM system, and on top of that as well, you've got these in-house lightfast testings, that's like 3 or 4 different scales that we as artists have to navigate. But there should only really be one, surely. There should only really be one scale to say whether a pigment will last 100 years or not. But anyway, let's get into it. So I'll have some images popping up on the screen here, and hopefully helping me to lay this out, because it is a complicated topic, and so I want to try and make this as easy as possible. So as you can see, we have the two main systems, which are blue wool and ASTM. I think the blue wool system is maybe a little bit older than the ASTM, but that's neither here nor there. They're both two systems, two well-established, well-known systems within the art community and fabrics and all, lots and lots of anything that has colour that needs to stay bright and vibrant for a long time. This lightfast testing is all part of it. Now, if you look at this scale here, the blue wool scale is rated out of 8, so 1 to 8. The ASTM is rated out of 5, so 1 to 5. But they're twisted. So the blue wool scale, 1 equals very poor lightfast, and 8 equals excellent lightfast. And then when you go to the ASTM scale, 1 LF1 equals very, very lightfast, and 5 equals very poor lightfast. So they're both opposite. That immediately throws a little bit of confusion in, especially when I'm not talking about here hardened artists that have been around for a long, long time, and I'm talking about students, I'm talking about new artists, I'm talking about adult colouring book artists that have just come into it. and have, started out in adult colouring books, loved it, and started progressing on to more things. I'm talking about your general run-of-the-mill artist or hobbyist or crafter or anything like that has come in. This is starting to be a complicated system, or at least it should be in most people's minds. Why are these two systems essentially telling us the same information, but they're completely opposite? Now, if you look at the blue wool system is actually, although it's rated 1 to 8, it's actually split into 5 sections. So, if you look at number 1 is very poor. Then we have 2 and 3, which equals poor. Then we have 4 and 5, which equals fair. Then we've got 6, all on its own, equals very good. And then we have 7 and 8, which equals excellent lightfastness. Now, when I contacted people with regards to the blue wool, I was trying to establish from them what is the difference between the 7 and the 8. So in other words, they've obviously rated a pigment and it's a certain lightfastness, but they've stuck 7 and 8 as the measure for that particular. But it can't be both. It has to be, so like cobalt blue is maybe 7, and then ultramarine, French ultramarine is maybe 8. But they'll categorise it as 7 and 8. But what's the difference between that 7 and the 8? How much more lightfast is the 8 over the 7? Is it just a tiny little bit? But when we're talking in years, 7 and 8 on the blue wool scale is supposed to represent 100 plus years under normal hanging conditions. But again, does the 7 represent 100 years and the 8 represent 150 years? And if so, well, that's quite significant, isn't it? If you've got a product or a product that is rated 8 in the blue wool and 7, the other product is rated 7, but there's a 50-year difference between them in terms of how long they're going to last, well, that's pretty significant. If you look at the 4 and the 5, which equals to fair, according to it being hung under ordinary conditions, that's, they say, between 15 and 50 years. So are they saying that 4 represents 15 years and 5 represents 50 years? Because again, but that's a big gap. Now, the blue wool scale, especially in colour pencils, normally is represented by stars, normally 5 stars. There are some other Lightfast in-house systems that are rated under 3 stars, but we'll get to that in a second. So then we move over to the ASTM system, which is rated out of 5. It's really simple when you look at it. LF1 is the most lightfast, LF5 is the least lightfast, and so when you get your pencils, the likes of the Caran d'Ache Luminance or the Derwent Lightfast, if you see LF1 on the pencil, that's highly lightfast. That's as lightfast as it's going to get. If you see, in fact, actually, I think with the Caran d'Ache Luminance and the Derwent Lightfast pencils, I think there only is LF1 and LF2. I could be wrong. I'm just talking off the top of my head here. I'd have to look all over my notes again to find out exactly what there is, but there might be an LF3, maybe 1 pencil in both sets. I'm not 100% sure, but the vast majority of them are LF1 or LF2. Now, a lot of colour pencil artists that I've seen over the years on YouTube will get a set of pencils, 120 set, and they will remove only the LF1 pencils out of them, and they'll only use the LF1 pencils and disregard the others. Some artists will go as far as using the LF2. And that's, in my thinking, that's absolutely fine so long as you're using pencils that are only rated at the ASTM scale. But if you're mixing and matching pencils from the blue wool and the ASTM, then I'm not too sure how you're going to be working that out. I know it is workable, but I'm not too sure how you're doing it, because if you're looking at a pencil that's rated 5 stars, like for example, the Cairn Museum Macro Well are 5-star pencils, and they are rated under the blue wool because 5 stars equals the highest Lightfast with the Museum Macro Well. So that's how you know it's the blue wool system, because 5 on the ASTM is the lowest, but most of the pencils are 5 and they're highly Lightfast. But if you look at that, so for those artists that would only use the LF1 and the LF2 pencils, and they won't go any lower than that, well, so you're looking at the difference there of, I'm just looking at my notes here. So LF1 is 100 plus years, okay? And LF2 is 50 to 100 years. So there's a big gap there. You're talking about, you know, a 100-year gap if you're going up to 100 plus years, so like 150 years. So that would mean then that under the blue wool scale, you would have to use either 5 or 4-star pencils. But again, 5 or 4-star pencils, there's actually 3 ratings in there. There's 6, 7 and 8. And again, what is the difference between the 7 and the 8? Now, some people might say, well, it doesn't really matter, Harry, because, you know, a lot of the stuff that we paint or work with here, we're probably not going to be alive by the time it starts fading. And that's fine. But that's my point. There are a lot of artists that are coming into this, or students and stuff like that, and are putting so much weight on having Lightfast pencils that it's scaring them whenever they go out and they buy a set of pencils. If they're not like super Lightfast, I get emails from people saying, I bought this set of pencils, I thought they were Lightfast, it said Lightfast on the tin, but when I got them back home, I realised that they're not from the blue wool or the ASTM, or they're not LF1, or they're not like 5-star, and so they think they've just got to disregard these pencils. And so that's the whole purpose of me doing this video, is to try and settle people down and let them understand that Lightfastness is important if you're going to be selling your own original artwork, or you're going to be doing a commission for somebody. But don't be putting too much weight on it if you're not in that category. If you're just starting out, say you're just learning and what have you, and you're happy just doing your drawings or your paintings in order to progress and get to the next level and to, you know, up your art, you don't need super Lightfast pencils to be able to do that. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, the Cairn Luminance and the Dermot Lightfast pencils, for example, because they are highly Lightfast, I'm not saying that they're not good pencils. That's not the case at all. But there are some pencils that are not Lightfast at all, but they're still beautiful pencils to use. You've only got to look through the library of colour pencils that I've reviewed, and there are lots in there that are, you know, £20-30 for a set of 40 or 50 pencils. But the pencils themselves, the actual vibrancy of the pigments and what have you, are gorgeous, and the layer and the blendability and all these other factors that come into coloured pencils are really, really good. It's just that they're not Lightfast pencils. So the next side of this is you then have on top of the blue wool in the ASTM systems, which are complicated enough whenever you're comparing both systems together. We then have this in-house Lightfast testing. And so we have, if you take the SAA watercolour tubes, for example, so their watercolour paints are rated out of 3 stars. And so 3 equals very good, Lightfast, 2 equals good, and then 1 equals Lightfast. Lightfast isn't a measurement. That should be excellent or something like that. Very good, good, excellent. I'm not 100% sure, but it's just a different system, and it's a system then that you're talking about a third system here now in play. But then there are other coloured pencils out there as well that use like a 3-star system, and when you know what the blue wool system is and the ASTM system, 3 stars. Where does the 3-star fit into that? Yes, 3 stars might mean 1 star's excellent, 2 stars good, and 3 stars poor. But where does that fit into the blue wool or the ASTM? Because if you are going to be wanting to use highly Lightfast products, in my opinion, you should only be using products that are done under either or system, blue wool or the ASTM, because those two systems that are in place are the only really verifiable systems that you can go contact to find out how they go about doing this, that and the other thing. But they're accredited as well. They're well-known systems, and if you as an artist go and you say, right, I'm going to be doing your commission with all products that are Lightfast and they're under the ASTM, that's how you can increase your price for the work that you're going to be selling. So it's just very, very confusing, and I just think that too much weight is put onto it unless you are in one of those small categories of artists that are selling your own art, your own artwork, or doing your commissions. Now, to make matters worse, on top of all of this, occasionally artists will do a swatch. So they'll get a set of, say, like the Caran d'Ache Lumen, it's a 100 set. They'll do a swatch. And then if they live in like Texas or Arizona or California, some of these really hot countries, or the Middle East or South America, wherever, where it's really nice and hot, they'll create a swatch, 120 colours. They'll cover the colours in half, stick it in the sunlight in the windowsill for 8 or 9 hours of blistering sun during the day, and then they will pull it away after a month, 2 months, 3 months, and quite rightly they'll look at that and they'll go, well, hang on a second, so this is supposed to be an LF1 pigment, which is supposed to be 100 plus years of vibrancy and colour staying. Well, I've just stuck that in my windowsill for 3 months or 2 months, whatever the time span may be, and look at it, it's already faded. Well, the thing about that is the blue wool and the ASTM system, so I'm going to contradict myself here a little bit, because I'm saying in one hand, don't put too much weight on the Lightfast testing unless you are going to be in that small group of artists that are selling your own work and creating commissions. But then on the other hand, with these two systems, when they say 100 plus years, they're talking about a painting that is hung in a house or a gallery or something like that. So if you put a painting in your house, you're not going to put it in your windowsill or on your, or smack bang on your window. You're going to have it on a wall that is for maybe 2 or 3 hours of the day, got a little bit of sun hitting it, but even then it's not direct sunlight. It's not the type of sunlight that you're going to get if you stick a swatch on a windowsill or in your window. So because if I were to do the same test here in the northeast of England, our sunlight is very few and far between. So if I put a swatch in my windowsill, it probably would take 100 years for it to start fading in any case, because like I say, we don't get much sun here. So this is where these two scales, the ASTM and the blue wool scale, come up with these simulated situations, and that's why I find it confusing why there's two scales in the first place. The simulation, the scale, the whole thing, there should only just be one system, and I think it would make it much easier for artists and for manufacturers to just put a 5-star system or LF1 to LF5, whatever it may be, and everybody just is singing off the same hymn sheet. With all these different types of scales and all the rest of it, in my opinion, it just undermines Lightfastness. It undermines the whole process behind it. It undermines. And don't get me wrong as well, when these companies send off their products to be Lightfast tested, like I know Derwent went through a long time having their Lightfast pencils tested. That was the reason why, or part of the reason why, the pencils came out in like a 36 set, then the 72 set, and then the 100 set, and then a 48 set, and stuff like that. It came out in dribs and drabs. Whereas it was supposed to be launched, originally it was supposed to be launched just the whole thing, but there was time constraints and all the rest of it in the Lightfast testing. And I know there were other things as well surrounding that, but that was part of it, the Lightfast testing and where it had to go to. But these companies pay a lot of money to have their products Lightfast tested, and so having the that ASTM logo on their box, on their website, that's what allows them to sell 100 set of pencils for £300 or £400. It's that little logo. You take that logo away, you take that accreditation away from the product, and you're not going to get many people buying those pencils for that price. We buy those pencils for that price because they're going to give us that what's the word, that peace of mind that the pigment is going to last as long as they say it's going to last, because of the reputation that these two scales are supposed to have. Once you start getting into these in-house these in-house Lightfast testing, you've got to take that with a pinch of salt. And I'm not saying for a second that these in-house Lightfast testing systems are wrong, or that they are, trying to pull the wool over your eyes or anything like that. What I'm saying is there's not an awful lot known about the actual system that they're using. I know there's not an awful lot known about the Blue Wool or the ASTM, but they're two scales, they're two systems that are highly sought after by companies, and you can go to them. If you go to, I don't want to start naming companies, but if you go to a company that has a 3-star rating for their pencils, and you ask them exactly, can you explain to me exactly what system you're guiding this on, or if you've done the Lightfast testing on your own, can you tell me what type of testing you've done, how you know, say like the 3-star represents 100 plus years, how you know that is this pigment is good for 100 plus years, what type of systems are you using? I think it'll take you a long time to find that information out. There was somebody that said to me one time, there was a whole debate around the Holbein colour pencils, whether they were Lightfast or not, and the scale that they were using, and somebody had come back and said, oh yeah, but they apparently they used the ASTM system, but they didn't send the pencils to America to get tested, because I believe I believe that the ASTM system is in Arizona. I could be wrong, but I know it's in America. And somebody had said that when they spoke to Holbein told them that they purchased like a machine or whatever from the ASTM, sent over to Japan, and that's how they got their pencils tested. And so their pencils are tested as so. I believe with the Holbein, they're a 3-star rating as well. I don't think there's a 4-star in that system. And so if that's the case, I'm not sure if what they've said is right, because they would use the LF1, LF2. If you look at the Derwent Lightfast pencils and the Count Ash Luminance pencils, that's how that scale is worked. LF1, LF2, and then there's the ASTM logo, that little flash thing on it. So I'm not sure what system the Holbein use, but it's difficult to pinpoint down exactly what system it is that they are using to create a Lightfast scale for their pencils. I know there's a lot to take in here. And I knew it was a complicated subject to tackle, but all I'm trying to say is basically, in summary, I'm trying to show you guys that are new to colour pencil or even watercolours or whatever the art medium it is, with the exception of markers, because markers are not Lightfast in any case because they're alcohol based. You can get some markers like the Faber-Castell Indian, or the Pitt markers. They're Lightfast. The Winsor & Newton markers that I've done a review of not that long ago, they're Lightfast, but I think they're being discontinued, or they've been discontinued. But in general, alcohol markers are not Lightfast. So if you do a whole big piece with markers, you're going to have to then go the other route whenever it comes to selling. So you're either going to have to do prints or UV glass in front of it, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But in general, what I'm trying to say is, please do not put so much emphasis on lightfastness unless you're going to be going down the route of selling your artwork as is, like the one piece where you could maybe sell it for £500 or £600 or £1,000, couple of thousand, whatever. Or if you're going to be doing commissions for people and you're putting a price on it, like using highly lightfast products are going to help you be able to and justify you putting your price up to a high level. Now, on that note, like I said, there are ways in which you can sell your artwork without having to use highly lightfast products. So if you wanted to, say, do a piece and you wanted to sell that original, you could put it behind UV protected glass. The other way that you could do it, which isn't selling the original, but it still allows you to sell your artwork. So if you create some beautiful art piece, you can go down the route of selling prints. Now, I'm not talking about the likes of Shopify or Etsy or anything like that, because I don't know how their systems work. But I did a review of a company a couple of years ago, a printing company that do glisse printing. And if you're going to go down that route, it's best that you try and find your own printing shop and stuff like that and work out a system with them. But the company that I did the review of, they use Hahnemühle paper. They're accredited to Hahnemühle. They've got a partnership thing going. And so if you wanted to do, say, like a landscape piece, you can still have that print done on watercolor paper. It doesn't have to be flimsy poster paper to have a print done. You can have it done on multiple different paper surfaces. But also as well, the inks that they use in glisse printing in any case are archival. So, but again, check with the printing company. But that is one other way that you can get around not having to use highly lightfast products. There are lots of artists out there that use markers, do the kind of fan art stuff that I do, like the BB-8 and what have you, and then sell that off on prints, and they can make good money from it if that's what you're interested in doing. But you don't have to use highly lightfast products for that type of selling of your art. Like I say, on those types of pieces that I do, those fan art pieces, I use markers, alcohol markers, which are not lightfast at all, and then I'll come in on top with, say, coloured pencils for the detail. And not always will those coloured pencils be lightfast, and 9 times out of 10 I'm not going to use Caran d'Ache Luminance or Derwent lightfast pencils on that type of artwork. It might be something different. So you can still sell your artwork. It doesn't have to be. My face was going all red here, guys. I apologise, I'm so tired. But that's that. I mean, I hope I've explained this. I know I spoke quite fast, but I wanted to get all of this out. I didn't want to have a really super long video because I knew it would be boring. But I just wanted to get it out. Now, if you've got any questions that you want to ask about anything I've said here, please, by all means, ask them down below. If there's anything you think I've said that you disagree with, again, please put it down below. The first 2 years that I ran this channel is where I learnt the most from people saying to me, "Hi, I don't think what you're saying there is quite right." So they would tell me why, and I would sit down and listen, and I would learn from these people. So if there's something I've said by all means, please let me know what you think. I've said this wrong. Tell me why you think. I don't like these people that come up and say, Harry, you're a prick. You've said that wrong. Okay, but why? Tell me why. Just, that's all I ask. And same with, like I say, you know, if you've got any questions, please, by all means, let me know, and I will do my very best. When I did the research for this Lightfast video and for the oil and wax based thing, I didn't take what other content creators were saying as part of my research. I wanted to go directly to like the chemists or the Blue Wool or the ASTM by sending. Unfortunately, with those ones, I had to send emails back and forth. I couldn't really get hold of a particular person on the phone. With the chemists, it was different. But I mean, again, even they said, when I was talking to people from the Blue Wool systems, they said that they can understand why there's a lot of confusion and upset around purchasing Lightfast products because of like their system, the ASTM system, and then some of these other in-house Lightfast testing systems. It just confuses the whole thing, but more importantly, it undermines the whole thing as well. Like I say, science shouldn't be 6 or 7 different versions. It's tested and it's put out there scientifically because they pinpoint it right down to what it's supposed to be. When you start having 6 or 7 different systems in place, it starts causing a lot of doubt, in my opinion, in any case. So that's it for now, guys, with regards to this Lightfast thing. Now, like I said, I was supposed to announce the winner today for the Derwent 72 set, which I said I would announce the winner for on the 20th. But because I haven't been around putting anything out, I'm going to extend that for 5 days. So on the 25th of January, that's when I'm going to announce the winner for the Derwent 72 studio set. It'll give me a few more days to put it out on social media and for people to like go across and stick their name down on that video. I'll have a link to that video down below if you want to go across and put your name down. But it's a wooden box set of Derwent Studio, a 72 set wooden box set of Derwent Studio coloured pencils. So like I say, I'm extending that. I'll announce the winner on the 25th of January. So if you haven't already done so, go across, stick your name down, or leave a comment, and all the details are over on that video. In February, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. I'm going to be giving away a set, the full set of the Castle Arts adult colouring books. Now, again, I was supposed to do a review of that around about the Christmas time, but I just couldn't get round to doing it. So I will still be doing that review, and when I do the review, I will announce then that I'm going to be giving away the full set. So that's, I think it's 4 adult colouring books in total, maybe 5, I can't remember, but I'll be giving away the whole set, all brand new, all still in packaging and what have you. So I'll be giving away those, and I'll that video will be coming up in around February time. I'm also going to be doing a review of Cynthia Knox's new book, which is absolutely phenomenal. Again, this was something I was supposed to do over Christmas. I didn't get round to doing it, and I apologise so much, Cynthia. I promise I will get this review done as soon as possible. But I did have a chance to really sit down, look at the book, flick through it, read it. There was a project that I did get started, and I'm going to finish for the review. But as with all Cynthia Knox's books, they are absolutely phenomenal. When I looked at the book at first, and it has like the balloons on the front of it, I just thought it was about just that, but there's more in there. It's not just on the balloons. And Cynthia Knox is another great example of someone who doesn't use the most Lightfast pencils. Cynthia Knox, a lot of her work is done with Prismacolor Premier pencils and some the Prismacolor very thin pencils, and also I think she uses a few Faber-Castell polychromos and some of the black and white pencils from Stabilio. I can't pronounce the name, sorry guys. But Cynthia's another great artist, absolutely phenomenal. She sells her work all over the place, and she is an amazing teacher, and her work is just, like I say, it's phenomenal. But she's not using the most Lightfast pencils that are on the market or anything like that, but yet still very sought after artist, and her work is just to die for. Really is gorgeous. But anyway, if you want to know more about that book as well, I'll have a review coming out very soon. And so that you don't miss any of these, the best thing to do is, if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you would like to subscribe to the channel, click the subscribe button down below, and when you click that button, there's a little bell icon beside it. Click the bell icon, and what that means is every single time I put a video out, you will get a notification on your phone or your tablet or your computer letting you know that I've just posted a video. And also as well, that means, you know, when I do giveaways, you're not going to miss out on those giveaways because you'll get a notification. But also another way of being notified, if you follow me on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, mainly those 3 platforms, anytime I put videos out or notifications out about giveaways and what have you, they're the platforms I put it out on. So if you want to know if you want to make sure you're not going to miss out, just stick your name down, or follow me on any of those, Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, and you will know as soon as I put anything out. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's been a long one. I know it's been a lot of information to take in, but I'll have a written review of this over on the Art Gear Guide as well. Sometimes I'm able to break them down a little bit better when I write them. So go across, take a look at that as well. And like I say, by all means, ask questions, or if you think I've said something wrong, please let me know down below. But anyway, thank you very much, guys. I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas. I hope you're all going to have a wonderful New Year as well. And I'm looking forward to doing loads more reviews and giveaways as well. I've got lots of things to do, lots of things to give away this year. So stay tuned for all of those. Bye.